Dad was just about to lose his temper, but he still needed his daughter to interpret for him. Everything at home depended on her. They even brought her along to doctor visits. Some things were too awkward to say, so only the daughter could speak for them. She had long gotten used to it. Most of the time, she was more like the family's voice. The family couldn't function without her, and she couldn't escape it. This is a true story. Ruby's family made a living fishing. A family of 4. Only Ruby could hear, so all communication with the outside world relied entirely on her. She also handled selling the fish and negotiating prices. But fish buyers kept pushing prices lower and lower, and it became harder and harder for the family to get by. Because they couldn't hear, they were constantly taken advantage of. Sometimes they couldn't keep up with deadlines. Ruby would go straight to school still wearing her fishing clothes, and classmates would tease her about the fish smell. But Ruby also had her own life. She liked a boy at school. She heard he signed up for choir class, so she signed up too. That decision completely changed her life. On the first day of class, the teacher asked everyone to sing a cappella, wanting to hear each student's voice. When it was Ruby's turn, everyone kept staring at her. She panicked and ran out of the room. She ran to the pier and started singing alone. From that moment on, her life changed. One day Ruby brought her best friend home, and her friend ended up falling for her brother, and insisted Ruby help teach him what to say. Ruby thought about it, and agreed to help. But as soon as the friend finished speaking, her brother looked completely confused, until Ruby stepped in, and she realized what was going on. Ruby was a real wingwoman, but whenever Ruby wasn't around, things at home tended to go wrong, because the whole family couldn't hear. Fish buyers deliberately underpaid them. Others got $3. They only got $2.75. When her brother was making a late-night snack, he was corrected by Ruby, but he still felt she embarrassed him. The siblings argued all the way to their dad, and their dad told them to stop fighting each other. He was also holding in his anger, but in order to sell fish, he had to keep enduring it. In choir class, the teacher called Ruby to the front, and started teaching vocal techniques. But Ruby suddenly sang beautifully, and the teacher was stunned. She realized Ruby had real talent. After class, the teacher kept Ruby and Miles behind, and wanted them to perform a duet at the fall concert. But after a long time practicing, the two still had no chemistry. The teacher decided to make them spend more time together, to slowly build their connection. After Miles left, the teacher asked Ruby what singing actually felt like. Ruby thought for a long time, but couldn't put it into words, so she expressed it in sign language, like there was a fire in her chest, and she felt like she was floating. The teacher was very impressed after hearing that. She decided to help Ruby apply to a music conservatory, but only if Ruby devoted more time to practice. But her mother didn't support it. She thought her daughter shouldn't pursue singing. Ruby just wanted to live her own life, and didn't want to be trapped in her family forever. Her brother wanted to unite other fishermen, to break free from the fish buyers, but their father believed others would never respect them. Later everyone drank together. Others were chatting loudly, while their dad sat quietly smiling along. At that moment, someone bumped into him, and was extremely rude. Her brother couldn't take it, and immediately rushed over. As a result, that punch ended up introducing him to Ruby's best friend, and the two gradually grew closer. Meanwhile, Ruby brought Miles home to practice singing, but the record her friend disliked turned out to be Miles's favorite. Miles also said he had noticed Ruby a long time ago. That girl, always busy helping her family, had always left a strong impression on him. Later the two began practicing singing. They kept getting distracted when facing each other, so they started singing back to back instead. Just as they got into the groove, strange noises came from next door, and they were instantly embarrassed. Ruby rushed to stop her parents, but her parents misunderstood her and Miles, so she quickly sent Miles away. The next day, everyone at school was laughing about Ruby. Miles also admitted he had told a friend, although he didn't mean for it to spread. But Ruby still felt hurt. Ruby felt very upset after hearing she had been talked about. Miles caught up to explain he only told one friend, but Ruby didn't want to hear it anymore. She felt it no longer mattered, and the two began to drift apart. Meanwhile, their father attended a fisheries meeting. The government required fishermen to pay for inspectors on their boats, and strictly monitor fishing procedures. The fishermen were all unhappy, feeling that costs kept rising. Ruby translated for her father at the meeting. After hearing it, her father immediately objected. He didn't want to keep being underpaid, or continue being controlled. Her brother also spoke up, saying they should buy fish directly themselves, even saying they were willing to pay higher prices. But reality hit quickly. The family simply didn't have money. Selling fish themselves was more complicated, and no one could help them communicate. In the end, the burden fell on Ruby. She started waking up at dawn every day to wake her family up to go out to sea, then handle selling the fish. Meanwhile, her teacher kept pushing her to practice singing. Ruby began running between both worlds. One side was the family business, the other was music. She was often late, and her teacher grew increasingly frustrated, thinking she wasn't taking it seriously. Eventually the teacher snapped, saying she would quit working with her if it continued. Ruby could only apologize, but she had no way to stop. The teacher later spoke to her privately, saying she valued her talent, and wanted to send her to Berklee College of Music, but she needed to commit more time. Ruby didn't respond right away. At home, her mother immediately opposed it. She thought singing was useless, and Ruby should stay and help the family. Ruby argued with her mother. She felt like she had always been trapped. Her brother was also pushing forward the cooperative plan, wanting fishermen to unite and cut out middlemen. But their father didn't trust outsiders, believing others would look down on them. Later their father still went to the gathering, but at the dinner no one really listened to him. He could only keep smiling awkwardly. Then someone deliberately bumped into him, and publicly insulted their family. Her brother immediately rushed in and threw a punch. That punch completely changed the situation. Ruby's best friend worked at a bar. She noticed her brother after seeing what happened. They began talking, and slowly grew closer. Ruby and Miles kept rehearsing. They tried to harmonize, but could never quite find the right rhythm. Eventually they practiced back to back. This time it went much better. But during rehearsal, noises suddenly came from home. Ruby rushed back to stop her parents, and the situation became extremely awkward. Her parents misunderstood what was going on. The next day, the school started gossiping about Ruby. She became the center of attention again. Miles came to explain, but Ruby no longer wanted to believe him, and chose to keep her distance. Ruby began spending more time practicing singing, and the teacher kept pushing her for the concert. But pressure at home kept increasing. A TV crew came to interview her family. Her father was asked to talk about fishing life. Ruby had to translate beside him. She kept getting distracted during the interview. Her phone kept buzzing. Her teacher told her to focus on practice, but she was already tied up with family matters. In the end, both the interview and rehearsal went badly. Her teacher was completely disappointed, saying she no longer believed in her. Ruby finally spoke about her situation. She had always been tied to her family, and didn't know whether she should leave. Later Ruby gathered the courage to tell her family. She wanted to go to Berklee. Her mother strongly opposed it, saying she should stay home. Her brother didn't understand her choice, thinking she was abandoning the family. Her father was silent at first, but later also expressed disapproval. But Ruby stood by her decision, saying she couldn't stay there forever. Her family couldn't be her whole life anymore. Just as things became tense, Miles showed up again, asking Ruby to forgive him. Ruby didn't accept right away, but she still went with him to the dock. The two slowly reconciled. Meanwhile her father, unable to hear communication, ran into problems during a fisheries inspection. Inspectors couldn't communicate properly. Eventually the Coast Guard intervened. Her father's fishing license was revoked. The family fell into crisis. They had to pay fines and hire crew who could communicate. Her father once considered selling the boat. Ruby offered to stay and help. She decided to temporarily give up college. Her brother disagreed, but her father accepted her decision. Her mother prepared a dress for the concert, and asked whether she would have wanted Ruby to be born deaf. Her mother admitted she once did, but now she had accepted reality. Her brother later learned from her friend that Ruby truly had musical talent, and he began to support her leaving, believing she should go out into a bigger world. The fall concert took place as scheduled. Ruby's family attended. Although they couldn't hear, they still sat in the audience supporting her. On stage Ruby began to sing. The audience was moved, and her family could only understand through expressions. Her father saw someone crying, and began to realize his daughter was special. After the performance, the teacher again urged her father to let Ruby go to college. Her father finally began to waver. At home he asked Ruby to sing again. This time he felt the vibration of her vocal cords with his hand, and for the first time truly heard her voice. The next day her father decided to take her to the audition. Although they arrived late, they still made it to Berklee. During the audition Ruby was nervous. The teacher there helped her restart, and she successfully finished her performance. The family waited at home for the results. In the end Ruby was accepted. Her parents gradually learned to live without her, and the family slowly found new ways to move forward. Before leaving Ruby said goodbye to her family, but in the end she ran back to hug them, and then set off again, chasing her dream with her family's support.